When I was in high school, my mother discovered Franciscan University in Steubenville, and I am convinced that she began a prayer campaign to get me to attend Steubenville after high school. Of course, as it turns out, quite often when we bombard heaven with prayers, you don't always get what you pray for. And I ended up in one of the most secular universities in Canada, York University.
Well, it's funny, Pedro, because I started off at a secular university, the University of Toronto, and then afterwards went through formation as a lay missionary for a couple years, grew in my faith so much that I thought I cannot go to anything else but a Catholic college after this. And so I went to Thomas Aquinas College, where I got a truly wonderful liberal arts education. So this made us both think of looking at the benefits of Catholic post-secondary education.
So in this special two-part Catholic-focused episode, we are going to explore what a Catholic university looks like.
Well, we'll begin at looking at education and the tradition of Christian education.
I would like to go to university to become a teacher because my teachers have inspired me to become a teacher.
In university, I'd like to go to law school so I can get a well-paying job.
I would like to go to university and study how to become a studio producer. I would like to go to teachers college to become a teacher so that I could teach kids about their religion.
When I go to college, university, I want to be an athlete, and I want to go to Notre Dame College because it's a Christian uni.
The university, a place for advanced learning. We live in a world where it is increasingly difficult to find a good job without a university or college education. But is that what education is for?
So me, education is the way to understand the most basic questions about being a human person.
Education in general, I think, would be the process by which you engage students' minds and hearts so that they come to encounter truth, engage questions about existence, but I think also equip them to become adults and functioning citizens.
Sure, everyone needs to learn a certain body of knowledge, but that's only data points. And you don't need a particularly extravagant kind of institution to get that across. The real finishing school part of education, to me, what's important. And that is where, after you get command, when students who are lifelong learners, it's to be able to take this body of knowledge and experiences and bring it to bear in conversations with other folks who have different experiences, different backgrounds, in order to sharpen what it is your understanding of the most important and basic issues of life are.
If people go to university to get answers about the meaning of life, something which you cannot do without looking to faith, then shouldn't the university be a place that is very similar to church?
All universities are Catholic in their historical reality. The university is a Catholic institution.
It's very clear that the university is a European invention at the same time when Europe was predominantly almost wholly Christian.
University education started in the Catholic world of the Middle Ages. So the institution itself, as we know it, is an institution that has a Catholic imprint on it from the beginning. University education that was formulated in the Middle Ages, it had two big parts to it. One was to train clerics mostly for the technical knowledge that was necessary at the time, and that included law and medicine and the administration of the church. So there was always that professional, technical aspect of education. But then there was the notion of the liberal arts, which were specifically designed to help people understand Scripture better.
The university is a new idea in the sense that it has, it's only been around for 700 or 800 years, and it grew out of an idea of schools that had a single teacher, like the monastic schools in the Middle Ages or the philosophy schools in Athens. So a school was a teacher and students, and people moved from teacher to teacher when they went to study different subjects, like grammar, logic, rhetoric. And how the university developed was through the gathering of a number of these teachers in single places, like Paris, for example.
Catholic education at its core is a liberal arts education, which is divided into two parts: the trivium, which is 3 subjects, and the quadrivium, which is 4 subjects.
The trivium, grammar, rhetoric, and logic, were tools to be able to advance the understanding of Scripture to a wider audience. The quadrivium, very interesting, those are higher level disciplines. They included astronomy, music, geometry, and arithmetic. Now, if you look at those 4, what you see about them is they're all, it wasn't, for example, music wasn't the way we understand it, listening to great symphonies, but rather music was considered a mathematical discipline. And so the quadrivium was not so much about reading texts like the trivium, but rather understanding creation. So the measurements, astronomy, looking at the cosmos, geometry to measure the earth, and that corresponded precisely to the Catholic understanding of how we know God, through Scripture and through God's creation. So education at its most basic level was geared to and lined up with these 2 aspects: the trivium for Scripture, the quadrivium for understanding nature and God's creation.
All major universities in the United States were originally Christian: Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Columbia. But if the university is a Christian invention, why do universities nowadays look anything but Christian?
So secularization has occurred not just, of course, in universities that at the beginning of the 20th century were Catholic, but also universities that were Episcopalian or Methodist or so it's a general phenomenon.
A place like Harvard, again, strong liberal arts foundation, the founding, the Puritan Calvinists who were behind it, very interested in how do we give our students the tools to understand Scripture better. But very quickly, Harvard got the reputation of moving away from strictly orthodox conceptions of Calvinist theology. And so already around the 1660s, you have people worried about what's going on at Harvard. But Harvard was founded for essentially Christian principles, as was Princeton, as was Columbia, which was called King's College.
So that particular liberal arts concept began to give way to a notice, a sort of concept of very separate disciplines which all had their own standards and in which people were going to look for professional competence instead of becoming an educated person or a wise person.
The compartmentalization into departments and schools is also medieval in the sense of defining and pulling apart into an analytical way the different parts of something. What we've tended to abandon in North American society is the putting of this back together.
And that has been the major change. This shift from achieving a well-rounded liberal arts education for the purpose of seeking knowledge and truth to merely receiving the accreditation to be able to enter the career world.
I think most students in general go to university because of the promise of a higher wage when they come out.
I am an honors program international development major with a quadruple minor in business, economics, finance, and Spanish.
I'm a freshman majoring in psychology.
And I am currently a second-year medical student in the MD-PhD program.
I went to Ave Maria School of Law for law school.
And I'm currently in undergrad, 3rd year in political science.
Oh, I'm a marketing major. I'll graduate in May of 2009.
Some scholars now believe that we need to get back to the roots of what an education does in terms of forming open souls.
We need to appreciate what philosophy and theology in particular have to offer in opening souls to wonder, instilling gratitude, exciting students to know themselves and the world around them better, and to cultivate an openness to the good, the true, the beautiful in all their many forms. And that means ultimately addressing those supreme realities of God and the soul, the data of revelation, the objects of faith, as a structure that allows us to perceive the part in relationship to the whole.
Like pulling apart a motorcycle so that you can see how all the pieces work together. But if you leave the pieces on the floor, separate, not working together, not doing anything, you've lost the sense of what it is. And I think it's not unfair comment to say that many universities have created a world of motorcycle parts without the zen of motorcycle maintenance and the deeper internal vision.
In the 1960s, administrators of Catholic post-secondary institutions in the United States were becoming concerned that their universities were not up to par with Ivy League schools.
This was driven by Father Theodore Hesburgh, who was the president of Notre Dame at that time. What happens in that period from about 1967 up to the early 90s and the advent of Ex Corde Ecclesiae and the sort of transformed thinking that Catholic universities chased Ivy League standards. They seemed to think that Catholic and intellectual and Catholic and excellent were incompatible terms. So the Catholic side of things tended to be shunted aside. People retained campus ministries. They had statues on campus and probably crucifixes in the classroom. They were less interested in having a Catholic curriculum. They were less interested in hiring Catholic faculty. And they certainly were less interested in having a sort of Catholic intellectual tradition that animated, what the university did and made the universities as Catholic distinct from other universities.
I do think that the education I got at Notre Dame in the early 70s was a superb Catholic education. It had what I just described to you, outstanding faculty who knew their disciplines, who could place it in the larger context. I think Notre Dame, over the last 30 years, has lost the salt and light of the whole presence. But I would also say they still have many great faculty members who do that. So I would call Notre Dame, I have a typology that it's the pocket, they have pockets of the authentic Catholic witness.
As a result, Catholic universities began to look more and more like non-Catholic ones. And naturally, students started to question, why not just go to a state university for a third of the cost if the experience in the classroom is going to be very similar?
Notre Dame never got to be Harvard. Now, I'm not sure that Notre Dame should have ever tried to be Harvard. I'm not sure that Harvard is where we should be trying to go. But the point is, people realized that perhaps they had given away the store and that it was time to rethink the idea of a Catholic university.
And so, there has been a new shift to bring the Catholic liberal arts approach to education back. Pope John Paul II provided leadership in his apostolic constitution Ex Corde Ecclesiae, from the heart of the Church, where he describes what a Catholic university should be. And many Catholic students agree this is what they're looking for.
Going to a secular university and finding out or realizing that the direction that I was going into academically was not something that fit me as well as I thought, it sort of left me unbalanced, and I didn't really know what to do. My whole life I thought I wanted to go into engineering. I figured out it wasn't for me.
I wanted to be able to train to pursue my future career, but also be able to develop myself as a person in terms of integrity and my faith especially.
I actually chose to come to a Catholic university because I knew that I did want to double major in drama and theology, and I really wanted to integrate those two disciplines and to live out my faith in the dramatic world.
I came here because the curriculum here was really good and stuff, and I just really wanted to come with go somewhere sturdy for something that I wanted to do in my future. So this is a really prestigious school, and the degree is worth a lot. I'm pretty proud to be here.
I found that by attending St. Thomas, truly it being Catholic was actually kind of a bonus for me, but it was smaller, and that gave it more of a family, homey atmosphere where I could actually associate more with my peers and actually get to know a bigger amount of the student body than if I would have went to a campus like A&M or University of Texas, which are just, you don't know where it begins and where it ends.
I came to a Catholic university because, for one, I'm Catholic, and here at St. Thomas they believe in the balance between faith and reason, and I think that could help me counseling people, because oftentimes people get lost, and I can help them fix their problems mentally, and then I could also refer them back to the church, and I could be knowledgeable about those things.
When I started college, I was at a period where I was really questioning a lot of things in my faith, and I wanted to develop a deeper understanding of my faith and come to terms with it more. And I was hoping to find that in the theology classes here because I had heard so much about it. But surprisingly, not only did I find the answers to what I was looking for in theology, but also philosophy, which really surprised me because I wasn't expecting that.
Catholic University has to provide its students with the teachings of the Church and the necessary links, the critical analysis, the philosophical foundations, which allows the Catholic student to understand the teachings and to translate them in a language that the peers who graduated from the Ivy League schools can at least understand, or the terms by which they can be convinced.
I think many Catholics come here in order to learn more about their faith while they also become prepared for pre-law or pre-medicine. But not to indoctrinate, but to present. I think that one of the things that a Catholic university can do today is to present this worldview, this understanding of the human person, this understanding of salvation.
What's more, even non-Catholic students seem to be attracted to this approach of education.
I wanted to come to a private school rather than a public school just because of the religiousness of it. I mean, I'm not Catholic, of course, but it didn't really matter just as long as it was Christian. That was the most important.
Speaking with students that have gone here and learning about the International Studies program, both experiences are unique in the combination of the teachings of the Catholic Church and, in a sense, applying that with your International Studies degree. So just hearing the promising remarks about the university, I wanted to come here, check it out.
I really like the small classes and the teachers are more one-on-one with you. And I'm not a drama major, but I'm involved in the theater department, and we have really great fine arts departments, and they're really small and they're close, and the club's really close. Everybody kind of knows each other here, so it's kind of nice.
Like a family.
Yeah.
The opportunities that this school provides just really helped in my decision. And the volleyball program just starting up, and I wanted to be a part of that to help it grow.
Being in an environment that's so highly religious has given me, more of a perspective on what religious people think, and basically it's help open my mind up a bit. I was militantly agnostic when I came here. The warmth that the people here have showed me has not changed my mind in any way, but definitely broadened my perspective.
They have a really good education department, and I like their core a lot because you get more of a well-rounded education. Like, you get to take philosophy, math, sciences, all that kind of stuff.
We tend to think that attending a specialized vocational school would serve us better in securing a good career. If you want to be a journalist, isn't it better to attend a good journalism school?
We understand that journalism is going to run up against questions of ethics, all right? And journalists have their own standards of professional ethics. But that in itself has to be understood in a larger context, because when you talk about ethics, what are you really talking about? You're talking about philosophy. And philosophy is the premier discipline to speak about things like ethics. Well, you can't talk about ethics for too long without getting into questions about the human person. Who practices ethics? It's the human person. So there you have yet another field of philosophy. And if you talk long enough about the human person, you're going to be into theological questions.
The difference is this is a liberal arts education, and so when I talk to people that are marketing majors at public schools, all they can do is talk about marketing. They can just, they can tell you every definition, they can like tell you textbook facts, and that's great. I can do the same, but not only that, but let's talk about like literature, let's talk about science, let's talk about, you know, anything.
What I find in both the international studies realm and the environmental studies realm is that there's a real incorporation of Catholic principles. So we could be talking about universal goods in our environmental class, or we can be talking about universal human rights in our international studies class from the perspective of the Catholic Church.
Coming out of engineering was a shaky experience, just because I spent my whole life thinking that this is something that I'm going to enjoy. And when that wasn't a reality, I was, you know, I lost that sort of direction. Going to a liberal arts college helped me find direction, because it pushed me into different topics and subjects that I would never otherwise have thought of trying.
We try to both form people in you know, in a liberal arts tradition, and also to prepare them to be professionals, Catholic professionals, Christian professionals, principled professionals, and that's what we think that a liberal arts education can do for them in terms of their professional development, that they would be different, that they would practice their professions in a different way because they had been formed in the Catholic intellectual tradition.
It certainly prepared me as an advocate. In the short term, you know, a lot of what I do, I'm doing a lot of real estate law right now, and it's not explicitly Catholic in a sense, but there is a tremendous emphasis on ethics and professional responsibility, which many lawyers unfortunately don't always take to heart. It's always a, how much can I do without getting in trouble? The Catholic approach should be, how can I live the ethical standards to the fullest? How can I take my oath seriously? How can I take my work seriously?
It is clear that many students are not settling for simple vocational training. They are seeking truth, and many welcome an education which challenges them to think, to question, and to explore all the major questions about the meaning of life, who we are, where we come from, and where we are going. They believe that doing so will make them not just better at their careers, but better individuals, better human beings.
I think ultimately, a Catholic education gives you a lot of tools that help you in your day-to-day life. It gives you the tools you need to understand your professional ethics, the standards you have to live by, and it also gives you the substantive knowledge, if it's a good school, both a good school and a good Catholic school, then that prepares you to do anything.
I think it's important to go to a Catholic school so you can learn about your love for God, you can learn about the 10 Commandments, and you can learn to be a better person. You feel together with everybody because everybody there has the same religion.
So you can learn about God, Jesus. It's a place where you can express your religion without being criticized or made fun of.
It's good to learn about religion and about Jesus and God.
You get to learn about God and believe in Him, and so if you're ever in trouble, you know He's right there.
So you could just ask your teacher because they'd know what you're talking about if you had a question about your religion.
It's true that the concept of post-secondary education is Christian in nature, and so it's interesting to note that most post-secondary institutions nowadays, including some Catholic ones, are increasingly becoming secularized.
So with that kind of situation, when you try to look for the right Catholic university, what do you need to look for?
If you'd like to comment on anything you've heard in this program, perhaps you'd like to tell us about the university you attended, or anything you hear on any Catholic Focus episodes, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. focus@saltandlighttv.org.
And for next time, join us for part 2 of this Catholic Focus on what a Catholic university looks like.